narratives emerging from the midterm election is that democracy is strong in America. But this is much more complicated than that. First, again, I've said this before, if the state of democracy and the strength of democracy depends on one party winning an election, then it isn't a democracy. But secondly, and perhaps more importantly, if we define the crisis of democracy as simply the presence of a few extreme election deniers in the Republican Party, we are missing an enormous part of the story. Many of the Republicans elected on Tuesday or this week deny the outcome of the November 2020 election. They believe in the big lie. Many are too smart to talk about it all the time, but very few of them will affirmatively say unambiguously that Joe Biden was elected president in a free and fair election. Secondly, many, probably hundreds of the state legislators who were reelected, Republican state legislators, have been complicit in ongoing efforts to limit access to the franchise, to make it more difficult for people of color, students, and other key Democratic constituencies to vote. Those people are still in office. This election occurred in that context. Georgia is going to a runoff in large part or in substantial part because of voter suppression. Numerous state legislators and governors, I'm looking at, for example, Ron DeSantis, were reelected after campaigning and governing with efforts to roll back the First Amendment. So the cult of Trump, regardless of what the chatter is today, is still very strong, and the authoritarian impulse that is centered to the MAGA cult still dominates the Republican Party. So while we should all celebrate that the red tide never happened, to think that democracy is strong in America and the crisis of democracy is over is an abject and very dangerous fantasy.